Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video we'll be taking a look at the new Underworlds warband, the Starblood Stalkers, looking at how they're going to bring some new skills and abilities to the Underworlds game, and then we'll also see how we can use the miniatures from that set as fighters in Warcry. So today on the Warhammer community site, the Starblood Stalkers, the new warband coming to destroy Direchasm, has been fully released now, so we can see all the fighters with a little bit of detail, and we can see some of their skills and abilities. So this is really great news, and last month we got Kagra's Ravagers, and this month we're getting the Starblood Stalkers, and we've got a release date. They'll be available for pre-order on the 20th of March. So this month we'll be able to pre-order these. So can't wait to pick them up. They're going to be great fun to play in Underworlds. But if you're like me and you like to use the models from the Underworld sets for your Warcry warbands, then there's a huge amount of potential here for that too. So in this video, we'll take a really good look at this article and we'll go through all the details that they cover here for the new fighters for Underworlds. And then after that, we'll take a look at the Sentinels of Order Warcry supplement book, and we'll pick out some fighter cards that these miniatures will suit. So let's get started and take a real good look at this article. So here's the box, and we're going to get some great artwork. I really like the kind of Beastgrave and Direchasm branding that they've gone for, and it looks like they continue the same art for two of the seasons. So season 1 and 2 had the Nighthawk and Shadespire artwork, and now we've moved into Beastgrave and Direchasm. They've got this style, so really nice, looking really good. And it says here, the Starblood Stalkers have arrived in Beastgrave, intent on harnessing the mountain's own madness to destroy it once and for all. It's a warband with a lot of variety in it. You've got a Skink Priest, a Saurus Oldblood, a Chameleon Skink, and some Skink Warriors. So we're getting tons of different fighters there in this set, so really great. And each has been created to fulfill a specific role appointed to them by the Slan in service of their great plan. I'm going to highlight an ability for each fighter to reflect this. So let's have a look. So we've got the Skinks, and this is one of them here, and he looks great. Real great miniature, good pose. And these Underworld sets are brilliant. I mean, if you've got a lot of Skinks, but you want to have a Warcry warband, you want a good amount of variety, but you also want them to stand out. When you're playing these fighters, you're giving them names and backgrounds. You know, you want them to stand out, and so having these unique sculpts is really great. So not only is this awesome for Underworlds, it's really good news for Warcry too. This is our first Skink, and he looks like he's got the spear and shield. And then scrolling down, we've got two more. So we've got one with the kind of shooter there, the blow arrow dart thing, and this one with a shield and like a blade. So we get three nice ones in different poses. These are kind of the positions we've seen with the SERAPHON miniatures that you'd normally pick up for Age of Sigmar. But this one's really great. Really cool pose. So this is my favourite so far for sure. But what do you think of these so far, the Skinks? Are they looking good? Do you think you'll add them to Warcry as well as play them in Underworlds? Let me know in the comments below. And here we are reading on. It says, each of the regular Skinks has the skittish reaction, which you can use after an opponent's power step. When you use it, you can push one of Fwachi, Zepik or Tok 1 hex away from an enemy fighter within 2 hexes. And it says a canny player can use this to put some distance between their fighters and an enemy fighter with reach, and they use an example as Vasilak the Gifted from the Dread pageant. So that's a cool ability there that we can use after the power step or after the opponent's power step. They can push 1 hex away from an enemy fighter if they're within 2 hexes. So that's really interesting. And it says here you can also use it to shift a fighter onto an objective token at a time when it's hard for your opponent to respond. For example, after your opponent's final power step in a round. Also, if an opponent tries to surround your Skinks, they may find that they've simply given you more options, letting you push your Skinks away from one fighter in the direction of another. So we've got some tactics there, which is really good. And now we're going on to Kixi Taka, and this is the leader. And we saw this one in the previous video we did for the Starblood Stalkers. And this is a great looking miniature again. Really cool pose, lots of character. And he's holding that device that they've got to get into the Direchasm to destroy the mountain. So this is really great. Really like this. So really good so far. And it says here, Kixitaka has a unique action that you can use to flip a feature token or deal damage to an enemy fighter within 1 hex of a feature token. This reflects the control that Kixitaka exerts over Beastgrave. So really interesting, and it has several uses, from clearing enemy fighters off objective tokens to creating a lethal hex to help you finish a fighter off or reducing the number of objectives on the battlefield. This may seem counterintuitive when your warband wants to hold objectives, but it actually makes it easier to score objectives like Seeking the Heart, which requires you to hold each objective in your opponent's territory. So that's really cool. We've got the leader there and some good abilities again. Looking down, we've got this one now, Otapo, and he's all about disruption. And this is another skink, a chameleon skink, and this is a great miniature again. Really good kind of sculpt. I like how they've used the base and propped him up on that. So this is really cool. I like this one. And it says here, the chameleon skink Otapo is a scout and skirmisher sent ahead to cripple enemy warbands from the shadows. Otapo has a unique action. Otapo has a unique attack action to reflect this role. A range 3 attack action that can give the target a move token. This can wreak havoc on your opponent's plans. If they want to avoid this by eliminating Otapo, they'll find the chameleon skink's defense characteristic of 2 dodge or 3 when inspired can make it anything but an easy target, buying the rest of your warband more time. While the attack action may seem inaccurate, requiring rolls of critical to succeed, you'll see that with just 1 supporting fighter, Otapo's darts become all but impossible to avoid. Okay, so the idea is you want him to scout ahead, and he's got that range, but you've got to team him up with one of the other fighters to make use of his attacks. So this seems interesting. So it's looking really good so far. Now we're on to this beast. This is Clacktrock, and he's all about destruction. And this is a really nice sculpt as well. And this is one I'm looking forward to, not just in Underworlds, but adding to Warcry, because he's going to be really good. And he'll be a kind of almost a hero figure for me within the warband for Warcry. So let's read about him. Speaking of supporting fighters, we come now to the Saurus Oldblood, Clacktrock. The Saurus is everything that the rest of the warband isn't. Tough, hard-hitting, and aggressive. When the skinks encounter a threat they can't avoid or disable, Clacktrock will see it destroyed. So this is really cool. I like this. You've got this big tough guy, and so he's going to make up for the weaker units. So it's a real good mix. It's really good to have a varied warband like that. So I like it when they've got different kinds of fighters mixed in. And it says not only does the Saurus Oldblood have a damage 3 attack action to get things started, but they also have powerful jaws, which they can use as a reaction after its activation. This means you can attack the same target twice with a single activation, or spread your attack actions around to cause maximum chaos and carnage. You'll also find that Clacktrock's Inspire condition matches the Saurus's role in the warband, while the rest of the warband inspires when you hold 3 or more objective. Clacktrock inspires when they have made a successful attack action. So that's cool. So instead of all the warband inspiring with the same condition, he's got a separate one specially for him. So that's really good. So he inspires when he makes a successful attack action. So that's really cool. So you may get him inspired before the others as you start kind of playing through the battle. So that's really great. Then we get a little picture of these skinks here. And then reading down, this brings us to the end of the article now. And so, yeah, that's the end. And I was hoping we'd get to see some of the fighter cards now, but I guess they're going to put another release out as we get closer to the 20th of March. Yeah, so I was hoping to see some cards in today's article, but we've got a good look at the miniatures now, though, and we've got some really nice pictures here. So this is great. We can see real close-up exactly what we're going to get. I'm really looking forward to these. I still think this skink is probably my favourite sculpt out of all of them, but which one do you like out of all these miniatures? And we're getting 6 in total there in the box set, so that's really great. So there's lots of variety going on there. And so that brings us to the end of the article. So now let's flick across and we'll open up the Sentinels of Order book, and we'll see which fighter types each one of these miniatures is best suited to and how we can use them in our Warcry game. So that looks really great for Underworlds, and I can't wait to play these on the battlefield. But let's see how they fit in with Warcry. And for me, I've got some Saurus Knights, and I've got a set of 8 of these, and they're going to form a kind of cavalry, kind of mounted warband that I wanted. And I was going to just have these 8 miniatures and not worry about picking up any more of the Seraphon. Just play these as they are with a Saurus Knight Alpha and then 7 Saurus Knights. But now with this set coming out, it makes sense to I'm going to get it anyway for Underworlds. So let's see how we can use them in Warcry in a warband and what fighter cards they'll be best suited to. Starting with the first one, so this is the leader for the Underworlds, but in Warcry, this miniature is going to make a great Skink Star Priest, and at 170 points, he's got some really cool abilities. He's got a movement 6, toughness 3, can take 8 wounds, and he's got a choice of 2 weapons. So he's got like his mystic weapon, his magical weapon, which has got a range of 3 to 7, make 2 attacks, strength 3, dealing 3 to 6 on a crit. And then if he gets up close, he's also got the option of using his kind of staff, range 2, 3 attacks, strength 3, dealing 1 to 4 on a crit. So this is a perfect leader for a warband, and so I'm really going to use him as the Skink Star Priest. You've got some other options there. You could have a Skink Starseer or just a Skink Priest, but I think with the colourful kind of feathers he's wearing, he's going to look the part. With those abilities, he's going to get 2 leader abilities. The first one is a double called Tide of Serpents, and he can pick a visible enemy fighter within 8 inches of this fighter and roll a number of dice equal to the value of this ability. For each 4 to 5, allocate 1 damage point to that fighter. For each 6, allocate 3 damage points to that fighter. So I could see that being quite useful. He's going to pick one enemy, really focus on them, and roll a number of dice equal to the value of the ability. So he's getting a value of 5 or 6. He can roll 5 or 6 dice, and as long as he gets a 4+, he's going to cause some damage. But on a 6, it's 3 points of damage. So, there's a good amount of dice there being rolled to inflict some damage. So that's not bad for a double. And he gets a second leader ability, which is another double called Cold-Blooded Commander. And here, a fighter can use this ability only if an enemy fighter has been taken down by an attack action made by them this activation. This fighter makes a bonus move action or a bonus attack action. Okay, so here's a chance to make some extra movement or another attack action, but he does have to take an enemy fighter down. So, and he has to do it in that same activation. So there we go. There's 2 leader abilities. He's also going to get the regular Seraphon fighter abilities, but we'll go through those as we move on to the skinks. And now we're on to the next miniature, and this is probably my favourite from the whole set. I really like this. And this is a skink with meteoric javelin and star buckler. And he's obviously got the javelin there. He looks the part for this, and it's going to be perfect. He could also be an alpha, so you could use him as a leader. But I'm going to stick with this one for my warband, because I really like to have a Star Priest as the leader. So for this guy, he's got some great stats. He's 85 points, got a movement of 6, toughness 3, and can take 8 wounds. He's got 2 weapons, and so his first one is he can throw this javelin. So he's got a range of 8, and there's no minimum range either, so it's up to 8. He's got a 1 attack, strength 3, dealing 1 to 4 on a crit. So you're not getting many attacks there, just 1 chance at this, but you've got that range, so it's handy to have to throw it, once as he's moving towards the enemy maybe, and then on the next round he can start using this other weapon, which is a range of 1, can make 3 attacks, strength 3, dealing 1 to 3 on a crit. So he's got 2 weapon choices there, and for 85 points, I think this is pretty standard as far as the stats go. And we'll see his abilities once we've gone through these other skinks, because we've got 3 other skinks. So we'll check out their abilities all at the same time. And this set's great. I mean, we've got so much variety here from this small set, because now we can use this next one as a skink with Moonstone Club and Star Buckler. And this one's really low at 60 points, got movement 6, toughness 3, and can take 8 damage. And so his range weapon is 1, and he can make 3 attacks, strength 3, dealing 1 to 3 on a crit. He's also got an extra rune mark for ability there, so really good. And the movement on these is fantastic, having that 6 movement for such a low point miniature. So that's our second skink. Now on to our third skink. This guy's got a bolt spitter and a moonstone club, so he fits perfectly for this one. And at 65 points, he's got movement 6, his toughness is very low at 2, and he can take 8 wounds. The previous one had a shield, so he got that extra toughness. So they're not very tough, these guys, but you can see by their movement, they're really high and they're fast, so that's where they lose the toughness, but they make up for that in speed, and they can keep their distance a bit more. and this range weapon's going to help with that, with a weapon range of 12, no minimum again, so that's perfect. He can make 2 attacks, strength 3, dealing 1 to 4 on a crit, and then his other weapon, the Moonstone Club, is a range of 1, 3 attacks, strength 3, 1 to 3 on a crit. And then so we've also got that rune mark, so he's got an ability as well. So that's the third skink, but we've got one more. So I'm taking all these stats from the Sentinels of Order book, and this guy, this chameleon skink, he's not in there. I couldn't find anything in the book for him directly, but he's going to fit in with the stats for the skink with Bolt Spitter, and he hasn't got a Moonstone Club in his hand, but he's got some kind of weapons that he could use up close, maybe some daggers or something. So we can just proxy him and use this card, and that's going to work just fine. And so his stats are going to be exactly the same as for the previous skink that we just went through. Later this week, I'll be posting another video that I'm working on, which just focuses on proxy models and how and why we would use them in Warcry. And I'll go into loads of detail on that. And so if you're watching this in the future, that video is up already, so you can check that out if you're interested in swapping miniatures and models and using different ones in line with the cards and stats from the books. So we've gone through 4 skinks now, and I think it's really great for such a small set to have these different varieties. We've got the Javelin, the Club, and the Spitter, and we've got 2 Spitters there, but they're completely different miniatures. So that's perfect for Warcry, where you want them all to be a little bit unique. And so all these skinks have got the same rune marks, and so they're going to have the same abilities. And these fighter abilities are also going to apply to our Skink Star Priest. He can use these as well. So let's go through them. And the first one is a double called Nimble Retreat. And with this, a fighter can use this ability only if they are within 1 inch of an enemy fighter, and this fighter makes a bonus disengage action. So with these guys, you want to get in, do some damage, but you don't want to stay there. You want to disengage and then perhaps move again and make the most of that 6 movement, because that's really going to allow them to keep kind of arm's length of the enemy, because if they get hit with sometimes a toughness 2 or 3, they're going to take a lot of damage. So this is a really useful ability for these little guys. They've got another ability, which is a quad, and any fighter with the Seraphon rune mark can use this. And with this one, until the end of the battle round, add half the value of this ability, rounding up to the attacks and strength characteristics of attack actions made by this fighter that have a range characteristic of 3 or less. So a quad's quite high. You're not getting an awful lot for this, I wouldn't say. You know, you can certainly add your bigger, stronger fighters are going to benefit, but I don't think the skinks do, especially ones with the ranged weapons. They're not getting a huge amount out of this. But still, it's a useful ability for a quad, and if you get them up close, they'll have to use their range 1 weapons. So, you know, it's going to toughen them up a little bit, add to their strength, and give them some extra attacks. So a useful ability, but I think that's really going to benefit more the bigger, tougher ones who can put out a lot of damage. There we go, that's the fighter abilities for all these 4 skinks, and also the Skink Star Priest can use these fighter abilities on top of his leader abilities. Now we're on to the Oldblood that's included in the Underworld set, and he's really great, he looks awesome, and he's going to fit straight into a Saurus Oldblood fighter type card, and for 200 points, he's going to have a movement of 4, a toughness 5, and can take a huge 28 wounds. He's got the faction rune mark and 2 extras. One of those is the leader rune mark, but we can use him in our warband as a hero, so he can benefit from the leader abilities that he's allotted with his rune marks, but he's not seen as a leader for anything other than that. So we can include him as a hero, and he'll have a weapon range of 1. He can make 3 attacks, strength 4, dealing 2 to 4 on a crit. So not a huge amount of damage there that he can put out, or attacks really, but if we combine that with the quad that we just read about, the quad ability, then this guy could be pretty tough and pretty useful on the battlefield, and he's certainly got the 5 toughness and can take a lot of wounds. So as a fighter in the SERAPHON Warband with the Seraphon rune mark, he's going to get that quad, Wrath of the Old Ones, but he's also got this other rune mark that allows him to have a triple called Tearing Bite, and with this, he adds the value of this ability to the damage points allocated by each hit or critical hit from the next attack action made by this fighter, this activation that has a range characteristic of 3 or less. So that fits in, he's got a range characteristic of 3 or less, for his weapon. He's only got one weapon to use, and he can add the value of the ability to the damage points allocated by each hit or critical hit. So this is great. If he's got a high value, a 5 or 6 for the value of the ability, then this is going to be great. He can really add some damage points. So he's going to be putting out some serious punishment. And a triple, that's not bad at all. Certainly if you get a high triple, put it to use with this. And because he's got that leader rune arc, again, he's not going to be the leader of the warband, he's a hero, but he does benefit from having this leader ability, which is the cold-blooded commander. And we covered that when we went through the Skink Star Priest. So he'll be able to use this one too. So that sums up all the miniatures that you're going to get in the Underworlds set. And so you can see there's a huge variety there. You get a leader, you get a hero, and you get 4 skinks with different weapons. So it's really great. And I think that's going to work really nicely with my Saurus Knights that I've got lined up. And here's the fighter cards for those. In case you're interested, then you can have a Saurus Knight with the blade, or a Saurus Knight with the war spear, and both 115 points. Both have still only got the movement of 6, so they're just as fast as the skinks, even though they're mounted, but they're a little bit tougher. They've got a toughness 4, and they can take 20 wounds, so that mount they're on is really toughening them up and adding to the wounds they can take. They can't dish out much punishment. I mean, the Celestite Blade is only range 1, 3 attack, strength 3, dealing 1 to 3 on a crit. And the War Spear is a range 2, 2 attacks, strength 3, dealing 1 to 4 on a crit. So there's not a huge amount going on there in kind of the respect of dealing damage. But I think they'll be really interesting to play. They look really fun. And I just think with those miniatures from the Underworld set now, it's a real nice, good-looking warband. And for their abilities, they're going to get that quad because they've got the SERAPHON rune arc, but they're also going to get the Tearing Bite, which is the triple, and we saw this on the Saurus Oldblood, so this could be a really useful ability for them, and that's what I really liked about them, is that they could use this to really add to the damage they're putting out. So imagine them charging in, they can use this ability, they're on the mount that can bite, so they've got that Tearing Bite ability, and I think this would work really nicely. There we go. So that's how I'd use the Underworlds set in Warcry. But I'd love to know which kind of fighter types you would use them for. I mean, maybe you take the Oldblood and use them as the leader. I don't know how you'd work it out. So great. It'd be awesome to hear what you think in the comment section below. Also, let me know which is your favourite miniature. I really like this one, the one with the Javelin. But which one's your favourite? Add it below in the comments. It'd be great to hear from you. Once we get some more information about the cards, if they do another post before the release date, I'll make sure to put that on here. So keep a lookout on the channel, and any updates, I'll post them. I'll also put some links in the description here so you can check out some of the SERAPHON sets already available. And with those links, you can save up to 20% with Element Games. If you like this content and you'd like to support the channel, then please check out my Patreon page. It's a great place. We hang out on Discord, discuss the hobby, talk about Warcry, Underworlds, Cursed City, anything else about the hobby that we can help each other with. And you also can pick up some great content there that you're not going to find anywhere else. So I'll put a link for that in the description below too, and it'd be awesome to see you there. I'm hoping that this Saturday we'll get to see what this other silhouette is, and I'm guessing it's OC Arch Bone Reapers, and so on Saturday we should see who it's going to be, and I'll make sure I do a video to update that so we can keep going with this exciting Underworlds timeline. But thanks so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful, gave you a good insight into the set that's going to be released soon, and also how you can use those miniatures for Warcry. Please like if you like it, subscribe for more videos like this, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to join me next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games.